Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of Fire on the Mountain, where I'm taking a local and personal look at the recent tragic LA fires. In this episode, we'll get into the immediate response to the fires. Once the news broke of these massive fires that started to come out, of course, many people were curious about our safety. No doubt seeing those horrific images on the news, plus headlines like LA is on fire, is very concerning. Returning to the geography aspect we looked at in episode 1, our location from the Palisades Fire was about 7 miles away at its start and near 5 miles at its closest. And while that seems not terribly far away, the geography of the area is a major factor. The fire was on the south side of the Santa Monica Mountains. We're to the north in Lake Balboa. Mulholland Drive is a dividing line north to south, which again stands at about 1,800 feet, and the fire never crossed the north side of Mulholland. And as mentioned in the first episode, the amount of homes and structures in this area is very small, yet it's often steep and difficult to traverse, especially fighting a fire in winds. Both the Palisades and Eaton fires spread very fast. There's no possible way to avoid this devastation beyond maybe fighting climate change starting 15 years ago. Small normal fires turn into tragic fires when mixed with extreme winds, dry landscapes, and record low humidity. The fires spread so fast it was hard to digest and keep up with in terms of our own safety in relation to the fire. I really can't explain how in the matter of 12 hours this went from a typical brush fire in the mountains around our city to one of the worst disasters LA has ever experienced. As fire and government officials have correctly stated, there's nothing that could have really prepared us for this. But still, it's not a surprise. In fact, almost the same exact conditions, dry landscapes, strong Santa Ana winds, homeless person using fire for warmth caused the worst wildfire in California history and destroyed, Altadena and the Eaton Falls area. The fire maps for those two fires, 30 years apart, are incredibly similar, yet the Eaton fire was twice in size and 5 times more destructive. Why? Well, one obvious is nothing has changed since 1993. 2, we know that all the weather is getting more extreme with advancing climate change. It's here in full force and making, among other things, our disasters far worse. Back to the response and how quickly and effectively firefighters, community members, and yes, government officials reacted to the unprecedented, unpredictable, unrelenting, deadly burning threat will truly become the stuff of legends. Images and videos bring us close to the battle, but do little justice to the threats and danger faced on the front lines. Civilians helping neighbors, firefighters risking it all in full force tornado of fires hailing down on them, communities around the state, country, and world sending resources within 24 hours. All of this and more can't be expressed properly with nothing short of heroic and awe-inspiring. But despite the best efforts and quick reaction responses, fighting a fire in dry conditions with up to 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts is a losing battle. As we said before, the fire spread so quickly, it's still unfathomable. We touched on this briefly in previous episodes, but one could certainly question how this response could have been different if responders didn't have to worry so much about homes and structures in overbuilt areas. I haven't seen any info on that, but it might be possible that it could have gotten under control quicker if resources did not have to be heavily spent on large homes. Maybe in the future we'll see some stats on this. As mentioned in the last episode, air quality was of some concern through the fire. During the initial response and into the first week of the fires, air quality was for the most part decent for some areas of Los Angeles, like where we were. Not so much in others. One area the response could have been better in is correct information about air quality and how to deal with it at different exposure and danger levels. It's pretty incredible how many people working in the immediate fire zone during the height of the fire, and even now during cleanup and the ash and smoky debris, have no face covering on. That's terribly dangerous and unhealthy. The rush to clean up and rebuild is extremely hasty. Air quality in these rebuilding zones is questionable at best, deadly at worst. Equally concerning is the amount of people theatrically lamenting about the air quality in the beginnings of the fire, and then at its worst for 2 days, a week after the fire, when extreme levels of particle pollution blanketed most of the LA metro area, weren't wearing masks or weren't even aware of the actual air quality. Better information and more timely access to it would be a huge plus. By far, the most impressive and hopeful aspect of the fire response was community action. It's not a big surprise at this point to see acts of courage, assistance, and unity on the news and social media, but nonetheless, it was impressive to witness. Food drives, community auctions, free resources, and beyond were offered up almost immediately across the state and country. When our communities are in danger and strife, we rise to the occasion. Hopefully, we can do the same with our hurting planet. In our last episode, we'll look at what's next and ponder how and when LA will rebound from this terrible climate fire disaster.